Hello, friends. It's the one and only incurably crafty Orm Shadowborn, and today I am going to show you guys why I believe, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that the true Skyrim Dragonborn is supposed to actually be none other than our beloved buddy Martin Septim himself. That's right, guys. All incurably crafty here is made it no secret that Oblivion is his favorite Elder Scrolls game, with a great deal of respect and, of course, love to all of the Elder Scrolls series. Um, but there are a lot of reasons why, and I'm going to give you guys like the main three and kind of chunking as many as I can in between. But you know, time is a little bit limited here, so um, here is the main reason. I'm going to show you guys my Martin Septim really quick. Let's get some of this stuff off. So you can And I'm playing this on an Xbox 360. I'm a little old school. I got a bunch of kids, so I'm not exactly here. Let's at least put something on him so he doesn't look all funky. So that's my Martin Septim. I'm sure somebody who has access to console commands and mods and stuff could do a much better, much more convincing looking. But he's supposed to look kind of weathered and a little ticked off. Now I'm going to get him out of these Stormcloak robes because he very obviously sided with the Imperials. Those were war trophies he took off of Gelmar Stonefist. So anyway, here's my Martin, very magically skilled. I did have him learn how to fight a little. He can use swords a bit. I did also make him pretty sneaky for the sake of getting through some serious dungeons. But there's a little bit of a backstory to this because there's a psyche change that has to happen in order for Martin Septim to make sense. But it does make sense. So here's my theories as to why Martin Septim is the real Dragonborn and not that generic Nord dude from the commercials. Who, by the way, we don't know for certain is a Nord. He's just big, beefy, and bearded, but we're all just assuming. So, Martin Septim. For those of you who haven't played Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion, the game leading up to TES 5 Skyrim, Martin Septim was the heir to the Dragon Throne of the Empire. His father, Uriel Septim, was the last active emperor, and Martin Septim in TES 4 is the Dragonborn, just like his father before him and his father before him. So Martin Septim, at the end of the game, supposedly sacrifices himself and takes upon the avatar of Akatosh to fight the Daedric Prince of War and Destruction, Mehrunes Dagon, in the Imperial City, casts him back into oblivion, yada, yada, yada. And then the avatar turns into a giant stone statue. Now, everyone says, oh, Martin Septim gave his life, etc., etc., etc. But where's the body? Now, I get the statue, but the statue is Akatosh's avatar. Akatosh is the god of time. He's the father of the dragons, Alduin being his firstborn. Akatosh, who is the father of time and dragons, could do whatever the heck he wanted with Martin Septim after making him, after allowing him to take on that avatar and turning the avatar into stone and all that other stuff. There is no telling what happened to Martin's body or his soul after the dragon shows up. We're, again, all just assuming. Now, Alduin in Skyrim was cast forward in time with the use of an Elder Scroll by mortals. There's absolutely no reason whatsoever why Akatosh couldn't have done something similar with Martin, being the god of time, knowing when Alduin would pop up, knowing when the world would need the Dragonborn. You see where I'm going with those? It also would explain why your Skyrim character, in spite of being in their late 20s to mid 30s, somewhere in that range, just based on appearance, unless you're an elf race, but even more so if, it's hard to put into words, but it doesn't make sense that your adult Skyrim character knows nothing about current events at all or the world around them. It's almost like your character is literally leaving home for the very first time and stepping off their property for the very first time in pure ignorance for no reason, but is somehow some hero of destiny that's supposed to save all of us, and this guy's got no education whatsoever. Now, if you've been in some sort of divine stasis for the last 200 years, that would explain why you don't know who the hell the Stormcloaks are and you're traipsing through Skyrim. It also would explain, if they're like, what's your name? And you blurt out Martin Septim, why they're not even going to investigate. They're going to throw your crazy butt on that wagon and take you to the headsman, because that's the craziest out of all the insane things they've probably heard over the course of this war. Somebody saying Martin Septim is my name is probably the most insane. The dragon comes second to that claim at that point. Okay, that's a ridiculous thing for somebody to blurt out in fourth era Tamriel. So then we get to he's the Dragonborn. Martin Septim is the last Dragonborn we know of, and the Dragonborn supposedly appears when needed and etc. How is your character a literal nobody? And I get the whole, well, the dragons weren't flying around yet. He hadn't absorbed a soul, yada, yada, yada. That's true, yes. But, would he not have, heard Alduin coming back? Would there be I feel like we were left with very, very little to explain how our Dragonborn shows up as this hero of legend when, as far as we can conclude prior to that, they're kind of just some vagabond nobody with some pretty mediocre base level, bandit level skills. And then my final point, aside from his immense ignorance, is a lot of the quest matter in this game actually makes a lot more sense from the perspective, and this one you might have to actually, jump into the game, make yourself a Martin character and give it a try. It makes a ton of sense from the perspective of somebody who's essentially been as good as dead for the last 200 years, who has been scorned, forgotten, etc., etc. The Dark Brotherhood is a great example. If you side with the Empire and do the Dark Brotherhood, I feel like unless you're Martin Septim, there's really no other good explanation for why you would do both of those things. Now, you'd still want 100% playthrough, and all of that quest matter would make sense to do if you're Martin Septim, who has a grudge against Titus Mede, who is not the rightful emperor of Tamriel. Martin is, but he has every reason to side with the Empire and want the rebellion quelled, knowing that Martin Septim is also a very wise, big picture kind of guy, and is considering what would happen if Skyrim seceded from the Empire and the Thalmor were to take over. So when you're donning your red uniform and thinking later down the line you might wipe out the guy you're taking your orders from, if you're doing it for the sake of restoring your empire and reclaiming your right to the throne, that makes a lot of sense. Clearing out Wolf Skull Cave, too, Wouldn't want your great whatever grandma contending against you. With a Legion of the Undead? Absolutely not. Vampires were a big problem in Cyrodiil during Martin's time. Joining the Dawn Guard makes a lot of sense, but also having an open mind, being able to read Elder Scrolls, having a good history of good knowledge of Moth Priests, being from the Empire himself. having access to the College of Winterhold and being very scholarly but not afraid to delve into caves and throw some spells around, that sounds a lot like Martin. And if you need a little bit more context on why I really put this much thought into this, I urge you to go back to Oblivion, give it another playthrough, but when you do, don't take Martin to Wayne and Priory until you've done like everything else in the game first. Do the Fighters Guild, do the Mages Guild, and just keep him as an immortal follower throughout the whole game. I'm telling you, it is the coolest thing in the world. So thank you guys for listening to my crazy Martin Septim conspiracy. I really enjoy doing videos of all different varieties. If you guys want to, stay on the Skyrim topic, I'm totally cool with that. Otherwise, I'm going to get back to crafting because I've got a lot of neat new stuff I want to show you guys. Thank you again for indulging me. Like always, ratings are appreciated, but even more so are your opinions. So feel free to leave your opinions in the comments section down below. Everybody have a great day. Thanks for watching. See you next time.